Hey, we're Saints. Father Chris here. Welcome to our crucifixional life stream. Glad to have you beautiful people with us here with my bro, Deacon Greg. What's happening? How are you? How was the weekend? What's going on?
Hi.
I need to ask you better questions so you can get your yeah in.
No, I think it was perfect what you asked. My weekend was nice. How was your weekend?
It was good.
That's good.
Had a little pool time. We had to do some visitations. I'm sick, and people are people are always sick, but we do our best to minister. So other than that, it was great. Got to hang. All my chitlins is home. They're in the house. So I said to them, I'll tell you the story later. We were at dinner a few nights ago and, talking about gratitude. And I was like, dude, this is not going to be the last time forever, but it's one of the few times going forward where everyone that should be under my roof is under my roof, because my kids are grown and they're out there conquering the world and doing all that kind of stuff. And I love it, but it was like, wow, this was fun. Anyways.
That's awesome. If you ever get lonely and want kids in your house again, I can send mine.
I'll take them. They're so fun. All right, so let's get after it today. I was thinking, excuse me, in the gratitude, negativity, anger, we've talked about it a lot in the past, but I've been doing a lot of research and reading and studying, and it's just kind of fresh in my brain. So I said, let's just do it. But what I discovered was, so we always, and you and I too, we're guilty of it. We all tend to say, the internet is so negative and, putting all that filth in our mind and, negativity. And if it's true, like, remember we did a sermon a few weeks ago, like we grabbed headlines from, news media outlets and they were all like, I forgot the number. We did it here too, didn't we? Anyways.
No, we talked about the comments.
The comments, yes. So the comments were negative. The headlines from the news outlets were like, literally every other one was murder or dies or death or, like chaos is going on there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's fair. But I was thinking about something else too, especially as I've been studying, don't laugh, but neuroscience and brain chemistry and brain structure a little bit. And though I'm not an expert, never will be, I have learned some funny things, interesting things actually. And one of them is that the part of our brain that is designed to keep us safe is called the amygdala, right? So it's the fear factory. It's the place that senses, all this kind of danger. Like, not to be too silly, but it developed, and evolved over the years that if we were running around in the woods, our ancestors running around the woods, and there was the lion or a tiger coming to eat them, the amygdala is keeping everybody looking sharp. What's going on? Where the danger? Whatever. So, kind of by definition, it is self-preservative, it's protective, and it is negative, right? It's looking for negative information.
It's a spidey sense.
Kind of, yeah. And so with all of that being said, I should have seen that one coming. So with all of that rambling about the amygdala, it's also like we've got to be mindful of our biology, that we in this world, that we are out there still trying to take care of ourselves and be, safe and avoid danger and monsters. So it's the biology of it. And the second part is we also have to be mindful that we've got to control our minds with the rest of the stuff we started with, the garbage of the internet and the news media and all the rest of that kind of stuff.
Without question. The only thing that we can control is ourselves. We can't control what the internet's doing. The internet is going to internet, and the internet tends towards negativity. But we can control how we consume that, how we interpret that, and then what we do with that. That's us. So what do we do?
Well, let's talk about some things. I was thinking first, like, the epistle, St. Paul's first epistle to Corinth, 1 Corinthians. There's some spats, disputes going on, strife. He uses this word eddies, like division, divisive strife, fighting, basically. They were probably under assault, from theological perspectives, whatever. So he gets in chapter 2, he talks to them like, we, meaning Paul and his co-apostles, not necessarily the Corinthians, we have the mind of Christ. And then he says to them, like, I'm going to feed you with solid food, but you're not ready, right? So, I know you have that text, right? Let's read it. Or you want to read it? I'll do it if you want me to.
Go for it.
But I, brethren, could not address you as spiritual men, but as men of the flesh, as babes in Christ. I fed you with milk, not with solid food, for you were not ready for it. And even yet you are not ready. For you are still of the flesh. For while there is jealousy and strife among you, are you not of the flesh and behaving like ordinary men? And there's that word strife, is that Greek word I was talking about, eddies, strife, fighting. Like it's, you know. So, I mean, what do you see there? I mean, what's he talking about, that really, well, what's he talking about in the context of first century Corinth?
Well, within the context of first century Corinth, I mean, there's all of the divisions that were going on within the battle over Jew-Gentile and how are they coming together, who's eating what. I mean, Paul talks a lot about food in 1 Corinthians. It always makes me hungry when I read it. But he talks about food offered to idols and not drawing your brothers away. But there's clearly, because he keeps talking about that word Aries throughout the chapter, this strife between the community at large. That Corinthian community is divided. Mm-hmm. And they're trying to figure out their way through. They're trying to figure out what is the path that they're supposed to follow.
Yeah. And it seemed to me, hearing those verses, that he wanted to give them more.
Yeah, but they're not ready for it.
They're not ready because they're fighting.
Yeah, because you can't accept what you aren't prepared for. Like, we're talking about solid food and milk. I mean, Paul is talking about solid food and milk. You can't give your kids solid food until they're really ready to start eating that solid food. You can't, really do that. You have to prepare them. You have to get them ready. You have to take the baby steps. And Gerber has their whole line of different things that the kids can eat now, and it's all expensive. And get them ready to be able to eat that solid food. But it's the same thing with the mind within the context of what we're talking about. You have to be prepared. Like my daughter, we were talking, a few minutes ago about controlling your mind. Like my daughter doesn't know how to do that. If a thought comes in, it comes out of her mouth. We have to train her how to move beyond that, how to really learn what she's doing and take control of her own actions. That, like, your brother telling you something didn't make you do something that you're not supposed to do. You still made the conscious choice. You still made that choice to do what you're not supposed to do. You gotta be trained for it. You just gotta learn it.
Yeah, that's a big one too. I like that you said that they've got to train it for it. Yeah, I mean, nobody comes out of the womb fully formed, right? Like ready to go. Some of us at 52 still ain't fully formed.
I still want to know what I'm going to be when I grow up.
I know. Well, but that's an interesting thing. Brain health, just on a quick aside, requires continual learning, lifelong learning. Mm-hmm. When people stop learning, did you know the Pew Research Institute just did a study, I think in 2024 or 2023, I don't remember, that most Americans, and I don't remember the exact percentage, but like ridiculously high, read less than one book a year?
I believe that.
Yeah. I mean, but what does that, anyways? All right.
No one's out there trying to actively learn. Everyone thinks that, like what we were talking about last week, they know it all, right? I mean, everyone's opinions are self-referential because they're not out there expanding what their opinions are. They're not out there learning more. Paul's Corinthians were fighting because they were convinced they knew what was up. They got a little bit and they said, all right, we got it all.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what happens. Boy, we took this in a nice rabbit hole, but
sorry.
No, because it's great. Like, because what are we doing? People don't read books, but they read blogs.
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting to me, I read this somewhere. You know how blogs will now tell you 3-minute read or 4-minute read?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They'll tell you how long you're looking at, which that's kind of crazy too. Just read it. Anyways. So in your 3 minutes, an author I was reading, his name is Stephen Kotler. He's big into neurochemistry and neuroscience, the art of flow. He's written a ton of books. I mean, really, really fascinating man. And in his book, Art of Impossible, he said, and I'm probably going to butcher it, so forgive, but if you read a blog post that I write, it takes you about 3 minutes. That's about 3 days of my time. If you read an article that I wrote that maybe takes 20 minutes of your time, it means it was probably, like, I think he said 4 months of his life. all the research that he has to do, and the way he worked it out. He fact checks, he calls people, interviews, all that stuff. If you read one of his books, he says you have access to, and it takes about 5 hours to read his book. He said you have access to 15 years of his mind. So I think what he's trying to say is that when you read the book, your mind is being filled fully with the other person's mind. You're exchanging your time for that author's mind to gain access to it. And, I'm not opposed to blog posts. I mean, we've written them. You and I both have written them and probably will again. But it's just a snippet, right? I mean, you're getting 700 words, 750 words of our thought. What can you say?
Right. And you're not getting all the same amount of research.
Yeah.
Like you're trading 5 hours of your time to read someone's book, and you're gaining 15 years of their insight.
Right.
15 years of their development.
Totally.
15 years of the way that their thought has been bouncing around and then come out to here, which then informs your mind, which then allows you to start shifting. But instead, I just saw this meme earlier today that I'm going to throw up. This is what we do. Have you ever wanted to be a biblical scholar, but without the hassle of learning ancient languages or becoming familiar with the ancient world? Well, you're in luck. Because here at the University of Facebook School of Biblical Studies, our motto is, anyone can be a biblical scholar. Our most popular courses include That's Not What My Bible Says, and The Holy Spirit Told Me You're Wrong. Don't like reading? That's no problem. All you need to succeed in our program is an internet connection, access to YouTube, and some strong opinions. Owning a Bible helps, but it is not required.
Yeah.
Enroll now and start your career today. Like this is what's out there. This is what people are doing. This is hilarious because it's what we see all over the place.
Well, you have to send me. That's crazy.
I'll send it to you. But meanwhile, we're over here like trying to pour through Hebrew and figure out what's actually going on in the text, what's actually going on in the context of Corinth. Like I did not know the first time I read 1 Corinthians what was going on in the context of Corinth, but through UTB and understanding the Bible's class on Corinthians, I have a better understanding of what's going on.
Right.
But I didn't do that research, but I did the research to learn what is going on. You did far more of that research than I did. I took the time to watch what you were doing in exchange for you taking the time to do that research, but then still helping me go through and figure out what that process is and figure out what's going on. Right. And that's lost in society today. I mean, I still don't know what the science of neuroplasticity is, but I think the science of neuroplasticity, I see it in commercials all the time, is expanding your brain by taking the opportunities to keep learning and
but to that meme you just said, you know what, you trigger. Look, you've got to be curious, for God's sakes, that you want to learn. Right, you're not the authoritative
you don't
voice.
Start as the authority
on everything, right?
Yeah,
and that's kind of what happened because you read. Like that meme is hilarious. Like no Bible needed to be a biblical scholar, but I'd be like, read our Facebook post, go to YouTube and internet connection, and boom, there you go.
Have a strong opinion.
Yeah, that's the stuff that all those. It's funny. I'm learning as I get older too. All of those old cliches and trite maxims, they're all true. I mean, there's a reason that kind of stuff's out there, but like have an open mind. All I know, Socrates is supposed to have said, all I know is I know nothing. I mean, that's the approach. That's how I approach it. Like I'm interested to see what Scripture has to say. My mind is open to, I think I have a really good understanding of it. I think it speaks, I've opened it. All right. But I also know I could be very wrong. And I'm willing to say that. And I keep investigating and experimenting and exploring to make sure that if I am wrong in my understanding, I'll correct it in a heartbeat, right? Because ultimately, I'm not interested in winning battles on the internet.
Yeah.
I just want to teach the truth.
Right.
And live the truth.
That's the goal, right? I got asked to speak last summer, last minute, and they said, we want you to speak on X. You wrote your master's thesis on youth choirs. It was a music conference. And so we want you to talk about youth choirs. And I said, no. They were like, well, just use the stuff from your thesis. I said, no, I wrote my thesis 15 years ago.
Yeah.
I've changed my mind.
Yeah.
I've tried to implement what I theoretically thought was going to work.
Yeah.
and found out it didn't work. So I had to change my process.
Yeah.
I had to develop, and my thought development, I will then present to you.
Yeah.
Here's my journey,
Yeah.
and here's where I started, and here's where I am today. And let's see where we're going to go
Tomorrow.
15 years later, right? Because we have to be able to allow our thoughts to develop. Like we talked about this when we talked about the fathers of the church and their writings. Like the early writings might not always agree with their later writings.
Right.
Their thought is allowed to develop. Their thought has to develop.
You would hope.
If you're throwing yourself into this stuff and throwing yourself into any topic, you're constantly going to be developing your thought and constantly learning.
Yeah, totally. You're totally right. Something you just said was so respectful as a scholar. And even if we're not academic scholars, just you said, no, my thought has changed. I think differently now. Like that kind of honesty, I read this once. It's so rare, that kind of honesty. We need it. I read once, and I wish I could cite the book and the author's name because I've lost it to the annals of time. But what fascinated me, I don't even remember what the book's title was, what it was about, what the guy's name was. But what he did stunned me. He wrote in chapter whatever this sentence, and there was a footnote. See the bottom. So I go down to the footnote, and the footnote says, and this I remember, I'll never forget, quote, "For a completely contradictory view, see so-and-so's writing in article blah, blah, blah from 5 years before." Who was the author? Himself.
Yeah.
Like he called himself out in his book and said, look, I wrote this 5 years ago. I was wrong. Now I think this. I mean, isn't that what it should all be about?
I mean, it has to be.
Yeah.
You'd hope it would be.
Yeah.
Right? There's thought development that it's fun. So there's an author out there that I love who talks about youth ministry. And his book titles are his thought development. The guy that did MTD, Moralistic Therapeutic Deism, Christian Smith, started with soul searching, did another book, Soul Searching Revisited, did another book called Religious Parenting, did another book called Handing Down the Faith. And now I just came out with a book. I just picked it up. I haven't read it yet, but the title alone is fascinating. Why organized religion has failed. And it's all part and parcel with the same thing. It's all under the same umbrella, but it's a development of thought that is showing, well, if this is the case, then this is. But as people are developing, the thought and how we interact with each other has to develop and shift and morph and keep going. Yeah. Because that's ultimately what we're striving to do. Yeah. Is keep growing and keep learning and keep figuring out what's what. Totally.
This conversation's gone in a great direction, I think, fun. In First Peter, he talks about being sober-minded. And I was studying the Greek, and I mean, I guess the word roughly translates to sober. But he uses that Paul, I mean, I think he's Pauline, the author. Anyways, he uses that Pauline language of gird up your minds in chapter 1. Therefore, gird up your minds, be sober, set your hope fully upon the grace that is coming to you at the revelation of Jesus Christ. And, excuse me, gird up your minds is reminiscent of Paul's Ephesians, gird up your loins with the gospel of truth. I think that, and it's the same word, so it's probably deliberate. It's probably connected there. But when I think what's going on here, like with gird up your loins, I mean, sorry to be crass on the internet, but I mean, when, in the ancient world, soldiers would gird their loins because, that's a sensitive area. You don't want any sharp blows that, takes you out of the fight. I mean, we do that in football. They wear cups. I mean, it's, what I mean? Like it's, all right. So it's that same word, type of protective for your mind, right? Don't let your mind be exposed. It's, a sensitive area, and the things that we consume and absorb, which is, I mean, you and I deal with it every day with our people, right? I mean, like our warrior saints, all the stuff on, like, you can't expose your mind, on the battlefield of the internet or in the battlefield of life without some kind of protection and knowledge and understanding. You know what I mean? Because just as a soldier would go out on the battlefield, if his neck was exposed, he would lose his head. So too will warrior saints, Christians, Orthodox Christians, any person whose mind is unprotected and exposed, get the proverbial head chopped off when they're out there. I mean, you've got to, and look, stupid people out there are going to comment on, we're going to cut this into a reel and we're going to put that quote up there for 10 seconds, 20 seconds, whatever. And people are going to, they're going to come after that quote. But the truth of the matter is, gird up your minds. Anyways,
you have to.
Yeah.
Like, we put helmets on kids when they're little.
Yeah.
To keep them because of the soft spot and the self-destruct button that they show up with. Like, you have to do stuff to protect that mind. The mind controls so much. The mind, and when we let other things in, we expose it. And if we're not prepared for what that exposure is going to look like, we're going to get caught. And then we're going to get into the self-protective stuff of our own opinions that we talked about last week. And we're going to want to just protect ourselves, protect our ego, protect our fragility. I saw someone today posted something on Facebook, and someone commented that he disagreed with it. And the comment on the disagreement was basically summarized with the phrase, "take a seat." And he actually used the words at the end of it. If you don't like it, then take a seat. Like, what does that even mean? You're on the internet. You're already sitting.
Yeah. But what is that? I mean, what do you see that meaning?
I mean, he threw something out that was controversial. Someone disagreed with it. And he's telling them to, back off. If you don't like what I'm saying,
sit down.
Go away. Yeah, sit down and keep your mouth shut. Or unfriend me or block me, whatever he's actually meaning. But the idea I see in it is just, if your ideas are if you're so convinced of what you're talking about that you're willing to put it on the internet, then you have to be so convinced of it that you're able to withstand the criticism that comes without having to tell everyone that you're a bubble boy, that you need to protect yourself from everything around you. Protect your mind on the front end so that when that stuff comes in, you're convinced and you're convicted and you understand it enough that you can actually sit and have the conversation with someone and defend your argument. You can, as we used to have to do in math class, show your work.
Yeah. Great. I think totally concur 100%, but I'm going to put the onus on the rest of us.
Yeah.
Because we should always take responsibility for ourselves. And that being this, that, the worldly way of responding to that stuff is how we started this conversation at the beginning, that everyone's the expert and everyone comes out and, tries to correct this, that, and they, like we talked about last week or week before, everybody's they all know better.
Yeah.
And like that meme you said, what if when this guy, whoever it was, made that original post, what if he was putting it out there to a group of people who were curious and wanted to learn and banter and discuss and argue over ideas, in order to grow and learn? You know what I mean? The worldly way says, to go back, amygdala, right? Protect, self-protect. So if a monster's coming after you, you can run or you can fight it. Well, I guess you could freeze, but that would be no good, right? So, they've, the world has, and people conform to it.
Yeah.
They're conforming to the worldly mindset of attack and go get. But what if this guy, I don't know who it is, put out there a statement and I wrote in, wait, I like that where you're going, but what about this? And I didn't understand that. And what did you mean here? Where it's an actual, honest, curious debate, not even debate, discussion, if need be, in order to learn. I mean, why are we conforming to what the world is, that worldly mechanism? I say that to all of our people, to you and I first, to all of our people. Hey, don't be like that. Right? Yeah. The world wants to fight. Great. Fight. Let them do that. But you and I, let's be, humane, normal, decent.
Yeah. Well, I think, yes. Yeah.
There it is.
But I mean, is the internet the place to do that? Well, is the internet a place to have actual honest things? Like, if I want to talk about something that I find to be that, and I want to have an actual conversation with that, I am not going to write that on my Facebook wall. I'm not going to just put that out there generally in Facebook, because I know from the get-go that, you talk about monsters and the amygdala protecting us from monsters. The internet trolls are coming. And the internet trolls are going to just go after anything that's said just for the sake of going after it. It's conformity, but it's what it's designed to do, right? And if I want to have a real honest discussion, I'm going to have a real honest discussion, and I'm not going to do it on Facebook. Mm-hmm. Facebook isn't the venue for a real honest discussion, right?
Yeah, you're right. People are not putting that. You're right, and people are not putting that stuff out there for honest discussion. They're doing it saying, "Look at me, look at me." But
they're putting it out there to stir the pot, not to have honest discussion.
Absolutely. My point in even bringing that up is that I don't care. You're right, but I don't care where we encounter it. Where we have to be of a different mind.
Without question.
So that regardless if someone makes the poor decision to put a, snarky or even a legit, a statement on Facebook, or like you said, better in person, on the phone, something.
Yeah.
Then we are of the mindset of curiosity. Let's learn and so on. I'm just saying, don't do what the world is doing. Wherever you encounter it, don't be conformed to this world.
Right. I mean, St. Paul bluntly says that in Romans 12. Go for it.
I left it for you. That's why I was trying. I was trying to get there like last time.
I know, but all right, fine. Let me go there. I mean, I love it, Romans 12, because he says it bluntly. Yep. He says, "Do not be conformed to this world. Be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that you may prove what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect." Right. Like our job. I'm leaving it on the screen right now.
Do it.
Our job is to not conform to the BS that everyone else is telling you to do.
Right.
Is not to just run down every rabbit hole that everyone's telling you to run down, to not just go on Facebook for the sake of, like, I'm guilty of it. I go on Facebook to see certain people's posts, to see what kind of trolling they've done and what kind of pot they've stirred, and watch and laugh when they write things like "take a seat," right? Yeah. Like, I just go just to see this stuff because it's ridiculous, right? And that's what it's there for, and that's what we're being pointed towards to do.
Yeah.
But we're called to be better than that.
Yes.
We're called to be transformed. We're called to metamorphosize ourselves.
Yeah.
We're called to get out there and shift, but not just shift willy-nilly. I'm using a lot of hand motions.
I'm watching.
I apologize
in rapt
so
attention.
We're not just supposed to, I put it back up, not just supposed to transform through the renewal of our mind, but it's so that we can prove the will of God.
Great.
We have to prove God's will.
Yeah.
So the renewal of our mind is then found in that book, is found in Scripture, is found in, like, the mind is not going to just be renewed because we go out and we say we're going to go renew our mind. The mind is going to be renewed because we've done the work to actually sit there and read and learn what is being said.
Sit down. No, sorry. Take a seat.
Take a seat.
I was going to say, after all that first, I was afraid like you were doing that, like this little teleport portal thing was going to open up.
I'm not Doctor Strange. This is not the Spideyverse.
The other part of it all was, it's really funny. It's funny. I mean, getting back to being serious about it, but I mean, the mind, we've got to, it has to go first, right? We've got to free our mind from the shackles of,
Yeah, you got to free your mind and the rest will follow. I mean, you said you were being serious, and now you went there. Come on. But it's true. It really is true. In Vogue was onto something.
You're right. I forgot. Now it's in my head. I put it
You're welcome. Yeah. But like, they were onto something. You have to first open your mind to understand that it's not you.
Totally.
Right? Like, all right. So I've been doing some work in Exodus. And the plagues.
Yeah.
There's this whole like back and forth in the plagues where Moses goes, Pharaoh agrees, and then it says God hardens Pharaoh's heart, right? Which reminds me of Ezekiel, that he's going to take out the heart of stone and he's going to replace it with the heart of flesh, right? This hardening of the heart. It has nothing to do with the heart. It has everything to do with the mind. Yeah. It has to do with the stubbornness. It has to do with this idea that like we have to be open to understanding that our ideas are not it. Otherwise, we will always be falling into Adam's way and ignoring Christ's way. We'll never be able to bring in what is there.
Yeah.
We're never able to bring in God's way into our lives if we're so stuck with that hardened heart, which is really the closed off mind that keeps our way as the way.
Yeah.
There's no way, if I'm doing it my way, that I can ever do it God's way.
Okay, I can't help myself. I gotta hear him. All right. So I mean, you're onto it, I think, totally. Obviously, I think you're onto it. But the renewal of the mind, you know, what St. Paul is saying, in order to prove, and that's why I slammed on the table, because I was like, yes, you know, to prove the will of God. That's like when people often think about, all right, I got lost. First, as you said, you were quoting Ezekiel and quoting Exodus and the heart. That Hebrew word leb, it means the core, right? It's like, you know, they knew this area, but for them, being the ancient Hebrews or whoever the ancient people, it was the seat of thought.
Right.
You know, the Greeks dealt up here, but this was, you know, so when you see heart in Scripture, it's talking about your mind. You know, the heart isn't, we know it's an organ that pumps blood. It's the mind they're talking about. And, you know, a fleshy heart, you know, like you said for Ezekiel. Anyways, all of that rambling, you know, our duty. See, once you get your mind right, I think, and put it and start control. Once you get your mind right, let's go back. Control it. Don't leave it out there exposed to the world to dump all of its poison. You know, you may encounter it, of course, you know, but your mind, you're not freely absorbing all of it. You're open and you're curious to the ideas and thoughts of others, but you're not ill-prepared to know and be able to read and see when something's crazy. Then, you know, once you've, you know, girded up your mind, then that transformation, which ultimately, and so many people are hungry and looking for, and we hear it all the time. I don't know, I want to find my purpose, right? Like, what good am I supposed to be doing in this world? And I think people are missing it. The purpose is pretty simple and pretty clear. You know, the purpose is to do the will of God. I mean, that's what Paul says in Romans 12:2, you know, transform so that you can prove what is the will of God. And that will that God puts before all of us, that purpose that he puts before all of us, is to be able to think. I think the right purpose is to think of another ahead of ourselves, right? That's what our purpose should be. Now, where do you do that? In what particular job, whether, you know, clergy or marketers or doctors or lawyers or garbage collectors or teachers or whatever. I don't care what you do. That's your decision. But in doing so, whatever it is, let the purpose be to focus on the other. And I mean, look, pretty clear. The 10 Commandments, the first few deal with God. The last 6 deal with relationships to other people. You know what I mean? Like, do good things for others. And of course, Christ quoting both Deuteronomy and Leviticus, love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, strength, and your neighbors yourself.
Yeah, it's in that way that we hear all these quotes that throw out there all the time, like St. Francis of Assisi, preach the gospel at all times and when necessary, use words. Like, it's cheesy. I get annoyed with it because I feel like it gets thrown out there too much. But for whatever reason, as we're talking about this, proving what is the will of God, that's what he's talking about. Your actions, you're actually doing for others, is what shows the world who God is and proves the will of God. And you have to let that light shine.
Yeah.
You have to let that out there. Yeah, this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. You got to throw it out there. You cannot put it under a bushel. No, you've got to let it shine.
Yeah. Nobody puts them under bushels. Why would you light a light and put it under a bushel?
Well, that's Christ.
You put it on a stand
He
so that
talks
all in
about
the
that.
house could see.
That's the Sermon on the Mount.
Yeah.
It's fabulous.
I'm with you. So, all right, that's good stuff. Let's get practical.
Good.
How do we do it?
Carefully.
Very carefully. Again, I'm going to quote, I'm high on this book because I'm in the midst of reading it. The Art of Impossible. Can you find it? Are you able to do it quick? Stephen Kotler. I don't know. It just sounds fun. And it makes you look cool when you could like and whip it out while I'm talking. You can find it. You can whip out that cover. Did you find it? All right. Anyways, it's called The Art of Impossible by Stephen Kotler. I think it's like some dude with his arms spread out and he's like all sparkly.
Yeah, he's very sparkly.
It's fabulous.
It's a peak performance.
Peak performance, yeah. So in the book, I love this book. I would recommend people to read it. It's really like very, very well done. He's clearly a mind, and he's done his homework. One of the chapters he's talking about is, how to controlling the mind. I think that's even what he calls it. I think that's what it's called. But he gives us 3 really good tips. One of them, the last one, is mindfulness. The first one is, positive self-talk. And he goes through the science and the psychology of all of that. But the middle one is gratitude. And, we've talked a lot on our platform about a gratitude attitude and be thankful. Nothing happens to you. Everything should happen for you. I mean, if you choose to look at it like that. So I'm going to tell you, here's a practical that I want to throw out to people. The science, and if they read Kotler's book, they'll see that certainly, there's data out there, ample data that shows us, the power of gratitude, and the effect it has on the neurochemistry in the brain and all that kind of stuff. So I took a chance, and I did this last night with my family. I sent all of them a text. So my daughters, both of them, 18 and 20, and my bride. And I said, all right, new dinner exercise. Each of us will write a list of 5 to 10 things that we're grateful for and bring them to the table prepared to discuss. And we sat down at dinner, and it was probably, and I've had some great conversations with my family over the years. It was probably the most powerful conversation we've ever had. Yeah, it was like, they all 3, only them, not me because I'm hard and crass, but they were all at one point crying just in thankfulness for the other person's thankfulness, right? Like it was so freaking awesome, And so I say that I would encourage all of our warrior saints to make sure that the table is sacred and that they use those opportunities when they're gathered around the table to do exercises like this, to ask questions about like, what are you grateful for? And, look, one of my children in their list of gratitudes, things for which they're grateful, included the table and those conversations that we have. And they felt like that was formative for them and made them into better women. Excuse me. All of that rambling to say, like, I don't know, man. I'm just telling you, it was a powerful, powerful moment. I'm probably going to talk about it and, have talked about it in sermons and so on, but it was stunning. Anyways.
That's phenomenal.
I appreciate that.
While you were talking about that, I was reminded of St. Paul in his letter to the Ephesians. And in chapter 4, he talks about this shift and this gratitude a little bit.
Where'd you get it? 4 what?
4:1-6. He says, I, therefore, prisoner for the Lord, beg you to lead a life worthy of the calling to which you have been called, with all lowliness and meekness, with patience, forbearing one another in love, eager to maintain the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. There is one body and one Spirit, just as you were called to the one hope that belongs to your call, one Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God and Father of us all, who is above all and through all and in all. That gratitude that we're able to recognize, that coming together at the table and actually having those conversations, really brings us together to that oneness that we are called to in Ephesians and throughout Scripture.
Yeah.
It really brings us together to see things through that lens of hope, to see things through that different world. When we're able to see things through a lens of gratitude, we're then able to see the world as it truly is, not as it's telling us it is.
Yeah.
And we're able to really transform our minds because we're reorienting our minds. We're doing so I got a new car, and in the new car, it has, because it's a Jeep, it has four-wheel drive off-roading mode, and you can look at one of the gauges, and it has a pitch and tilt. so you can know if you're on rocky terrain, what your axles are doing. And it just gives you these little corrections to keep it. And you watch these gauges and you're trying to keep them level as best you can. And Scripture's doing that for us. But by adopting this gratitude attitude and training ourselves through the questions like you threw out to your family, we're able to actually do that. It shifts everything because we've opened up our minds, and it's fabulous. Paul goes on there and then gives, you want practical, rules for the new life. Putting away falsehood, let everyone speak the truth with his neighbor, for we are members one of another. Be angry, but do not sin. Do not let the sun go down on your anger. Give no opportunity to the devil. Let the he goes through at the end of chapter 4, verses 25 and following, and he ends it with, be kind to one another, tenderhearted, forgiving one another as God in Christ forgave you. Like, it's a new way to see the world, and adopting that gratitude attitude reorients it, starts that process. It actually does the work of helping our mind transform and not just be conformed.
Yep. It's great. We've been preaching that whole idea, but you said it very succinctly. We're supposed to be different. We're not supposed to be like the world. We're not supposed to be normal, right? At least I don't want to be normal. And if we're called to something much higher, it's kind of like, to use video game parlance, once you conquer the bad guy, you level up and you go to the next level. Jesus Christ is calling us to the next level. And I think that gratitude attitude, that exercise, and this is why I threw it out there as a practical, because it had a powerful impact on me and my family. And I thought, well, we better share it. So my practical point, throwing that out there, is to say to all of our beautiful people, give it a shot, right? Here's a fun exercise. Here's what I want you to do. Try that, right? Give it a shot. I promise you, your life will never be the same. Mine will not be the same after that conversation last night. Tell your family 10 things, 5 to 10 things, whatever, and go through one at a time. Just keep going in circles until you get through all of them. And the second part of it is, why don't we're asking you now for your help on, the comment sections below all over. We'll monitor it. Put up your questions, right? So I came up with, what are we grateful for? Give us a good question. Let's have fun with this. Maybe you probably have great ideas and thoughts that I will use. Throw them up there. And that stuff, wherever the comments are. So that maybe, boy, this is not where I intended this to go, but we have a table revolution where the table actually becomes sacred once again. And the drive-through windows stop and all the rest of that kind of stuff. And we do that kind of business there. Maybe guided by, first and foremost, gratitude, but then rolling over into deep thoughts and conversations. And
yeah. Let's call it Warrior Saints Reclaim the Table.
I like it. We have problems.
But that's really what we're doing.
Yeah.
Right? We're reclaiming the space.
I'm going to do a sermon.
For conversation.
Yeah, no, that's you just said it and it hit my head. I'm going to do a sermon. Reclaim the table.
Reclaim the table.
Yeah.
We tried to do it during COVID. So you remember during COVID, we did Table Talk, was our Sunday school.
Yes.
Because we couldn't have Sunday school in person. We turned it into Table Talk. We'd have a video with prompt questions for people to sit and watch the video as a family and then sit down and have those discussions. We got to get there. So we got to reclaim things.
Do we call it Reclaim the Table, or do we go back to Table Talk?
Well, I'm going to admit something to you now that I never admitted during COVID. Table Talk was not original to me. It was the name of these little pies that were about this big that were sold in Worcester, Massachusetts. And my buddy's dad worked for Table Talk Pies for many years. And I thought it was cool.
I'm devastated.
As you
Because for years I thought you were smart.
I'm not. I just repackage other people's genius.
So smart. Hey, look, that's what they say creativity is. It's not coming up with new stuff. Creativity is able to make connections. You are very creative.
But we are going to reclaim the table.
All right,
because it needs to be reclaimed.
Reclaimed.
It's been cast aside and usurped, and we got to take it back.
Does that? So tell me now, because I'm confessing my ignorance. It's not a. It is a very uncommon thing in my home to not eat at the table. Even when my kids are gone, my bride and I sit at the table, the two of us.
Yeah.
Rarely, and maybe 3 times a year, we will, as a family or the two of us, will sit elsewhere, like standing at the counter or on, watching TV or whatever. We rarely will not eat at the table together. Is that something that's happening out there, or am I just on a rampage about something that's not a real thing?
I don't know that as many people sit at the table together as once was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then let's reclaim it.
So that's why I use reclaim.
I'm going to name it.
And then reclaim it.
I don't know what happened.
You know what? And then we're going to get a picture of it and we're going to frame it. But if it doesn't work, don't blame it on me.
Nice.
Yeah. You're welcome.
I can't find any aim words to rhyme with.
It's all right.
Anyways. All right. Great stuff.
If I had a bow and arrow, I'd aim it.
Yeah, I know. Great stuff.
Good times.
The path was here and we ended up here. But you know what? Good stuff. I think it's legit. It was a good convo. Love you, beautiful people. Quick pitch. Go. Check it out. Understanding the Bible. It's growing. People are coming and learning. Look, that's something we need to talk about later about is our duty and responsibility of reading Holy Scripture and understanding it. And, it can be confusing for some people. Sometimes, we still struggle with it. That's why we, hammer our way through all this, hard, languages and context and so on, so that you can read the Scripture and then watch Understanding the Bible and be like, I got it. So that, as St. Paul said in Romans 12:2, you can go out and do the business and prove, once your mind has been transformed, you prove what is the will of God by serving and loving other people. I don't know. That's simple. We'll be back Sunday. Love you. Orthodox Liturgy, 9 and 10 a.m. Pacific, respectively. And we'll be back again next week. Have a great weekend. Be safe. As always, keep walking on the way of the warrior saint.